On this week's GTA 6 O'clock, a secret that's been undiscovered for years, and we should probably put a spoiler warning here, GTA 6's theme song we haven't really seen happen before, and has the storyline really leaked? Storylines from GTA 6 are out there in the wild. It's all here on this week's GTA 6 O'clock. Well, hello and welcome to episode 29 of GTA 6 O'clock. We've almost reached another milestone. One more week to go and we are out of our 20s and into our 30s. Honestly, feels pretty good. Thank you for all your support, emails, tweets, and comments over the last 28 or so episodes. I'm James JJ Jarvis. I'm with Dan DD Dawkins. Hello, Dan.
Hello there. I just want to say to everyone listening right now, I get the privilege of sitting with James as he does that husky intro every week. And mentally, I log a score for how husky it is.
Wow, okay.
So I'm giving this week 7 husks out of 10.
Oh, right.
Please, in the comments, let us know how husky this week's intro was, because I thought tonight's was an all-time classic. A good one.
This is classic. I mean, sorry, we're going to go off point already. Classic video game scoring. You think it's a classic, but it's a 7 out of 10.
No, that's good. So
It's
in my
good.
scoring scheme, 7 is good. Like, I mean, an 8 or 9 would be like an absolute all-timer. I'm on the, if people get this reference, the Edge magazine scoring system.
Okay, fine.
Right.
So, okay, we're an edge 7 with that. Fair enough.
That's a 9 in some other outlets.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is related to the topics as well, because obviously you're going to be more excited by the intro, depending on what we're talking about. But anyway, we'll get to that in a second. The countdown continues. Screenshots, we hope, are coming, predicted by us sometime in September, maybe September the 21st. That is only 95 days' time.
Whoop.
We could almost be 95 days away from some new screenshots. Release date, again predicted by us, October the 21st, 2025. 490 days to go. That is all. Come on. And speaking of community feedback, Dan, unanimous comments from last week. Everyone is a fan of replenishing your character's health by eating and sleeping in Red Dead. Want to see it brought over into GTA 6. I'll read out some quotes for you. St. Kevin Official said, I'm a big fan of eating or sleeping to replenish your character's health. It helps ground you. We want to feel more attached to these characters. Dom Valley, personally, I was a big fan of having to eat to regain your cores in RDR2. I know it's a bit silly, but I enjoyed waking up to a stew bowl and a coffee and having to remember to pack food for travel. It added a fun air of realism. And Levi Rupel, I like the health cores and eating, and I actually wish they would go deeper with that system. I like how your hat would get knocked off and you'd have to pick it up after all the O'Driscolls were gone. So, respond to that.
Well, I'll respond to this in 2 ways. Number one, not that I don't trust you, but I did check the comments to make sure there weren't any positive ones in my defence. And James is right. No one seems to agree with me. So that's slightly frustrating. And number 2, I mean, good luck to you if you want to do that. If you want to have to pack your sandwiches and put the ham in the bread before you go and rob the 7-Eleven, that's great. And like maybe GTA 6, and I'm being serious now, GTA 6 will probably cater to you. And if there is an overwhelming positivity for these mechanics, I dare say it will reappear in some form. I get it. In a game like Red Dead, it's more about being connected to nature. And I think even at the very basic level of the thrill of waking up in the morning and holding a hot coffee in nature, that makes more sense to me. I just see GTA's universe as much more disposable and fast and the opposite of maybe what the Red Dead's vibe is. So for me, it's not what I want. But I'm sure if everyone is out there and saying we love replenishing our cores, I dare say GTA 6 will, reciprocate.
I mean, it's a very familiar system now for everybody in gaming is, finding berries or a chocolate bar or something to eat to replenish your health and all of that kind of thing. So, I mean, yeah, that stuff is almost certainly going to be in the game in some way. I guess the conversation is how much of that is going to be like gameplay dependent. Like, can you just go around and not eat any chocolate bars and be fine? Or is it going to be like, you haven't eaten chocolate bars for 12 in-game hours. You're going to start running slower, etc., etc. So I think it will be a mechanic in there. It's just how much they play up to it, I'd imagine.
They can't let it be debilitating. And I will stress, folks.
I mean, they can, Dan.
Well, don't though. And I will stress in real life, were you to take several bullets to the shoulder, nibbling a protein bar will not fix it. All right? It will not fix it.
Okay, right. Well, that community feedback aside, we do have a little bit of extra community feedback.
Yes. Yeah.
We ran a poll this week on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to GTA 5 o'clock if you haven't already, which was simply called, which is the best Grand Theft Auto game here? And before we move on to this poll, yes, there was another poll that got deleted. It had an error in it. Someone has been fired. So, Dan, I don't think you've seen the results of this poll.
No.
This one was, which is the best game here? And we had to do that because there were only 4 choices, and obviously there's more than 4 GTA games. So, it was your choices: GTA 5, GTA 4, Vice City, or San Andreas. Now, as I say, I don't think you've seen the results, so I'm interested to what you think the results might be, or which one, where are you voting in this chart?
All right, let me also do this in 2 ways. 1, with my prediction of what people have said, and 2, the correct answers. So we'll start with what I think people have said. I am going to go, I'll start at the top, right? Number 1. I think this will be close, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's GTA Vice City. That's impulsive and wild. Then I'm going to go GTA 5, San Andreas, and GTA 4.
And that is the people's vote?
People's vote.
Right, okay. So do you want to know the results before we hear your vote?
Yeah, go on.
Well, loads of people got involved in this, actually. Over 3,000 votes.
Oh, cool.
Had,
wow.
Which was really cool. And it was close at the top. You were right. 36% voted GTA 5. And then 32% GTA San Andreas.
Wow, San Andreas, okay.
You dropped down to 24% for GTA 4 and then just 8% for Vice City.
Oh, well, actually, this is... A lot of people have got really good taste. Do you want me to tell you my top 4?
Yes.
So my top 4 would be GTA 5, GTA San Andreas, GTA 4, GTA Vice City.
I mean, you're in line with the community that listen to this show.
This is amazing. Guys, let's all sit down and replenish our cores
with a
little protein pack, because that's genuinely the right answer. That is. Like, Vice City is beloved because of the 80s vibe, but it's not really that good a game, is it? Like, it's got some cool oh my God, that'll cause problems. But
wow.
It's not though, is it? Like, it's got amazing moments and it's cool and the soundtrack's brilliant and there's some really fun missions, but like, it's not the most nuanced game, where I think you could make a case for San Andreas being technically like nothing we had ever seen before in terms of ambition. That game is off the charts crazy good. GTA 5, all I can say about GTA 5 is we're still playing it like 11 to 12 years later. Yes. That isn't a bad game. And I think 4 would always be the cult pick. If you're someone who's a little bit arch, who likes the band no one else likes, you're always going to pick 4. Because 4 it's an intense, moody, it's one of the best stories of all of the series. So well done, community.
4's like the second album from everyone's favourite band that no one ever mentions.
Yeah, it's complex, you may not get it, but true fans appreciate it.
I think there was a stage during this poll where San Andreas almost got in at the top, but it's slightly changed in the last few days to be, GTA 5. And I think that, that's also something to do with the generations of people that listen to this show, right? So, GTA 5 is the most recent game. Most people have played that game most recently, and you remember it more and actually, that is a really good game. But as you say, poll results are correct. So great work. So Dan, I wanted to quickly touch on the big talk in the community this week around leaks. Now, obviously, there's always talk around leaks, to be fair. But this week, there has been quite a lot of claims that plot points and storylines from GTA 6 are out there in the wild. Now, as we discussed last week, we don't think there's anything left from the 2022 leaks that's being held back. And also, we have no reason to believe any of these new storyline leaks are legitimate, right?
No, there's if you were to go on X or the various Reddit boards, there's a lot of chatter this week around the story or elements of the story you've leaked, including like a notable set of sections around how the game might begin and an intro. And I saw some, I think you've got this in your notes, but some comments along the lines of Now that the leaks have been confirmed, and my eyes almost rolled out of my head. I was like, confirmed by who? Like, who could actually confirm them? This side of one of the writers going, it is I, the writer, and I can confirm these leaks are true. Or Rockstar, like, moving to close them down in a way that was conspicuous, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't see any of that here.
No, well, that writer would very much be not a writer anymore if they came out and said that.
Yeah, it would be wild and unprecedented for that to happen. So, yeah, I as always with leaks, take this with an enormous pinch of salt. But I think you've dug in a little bit to some of the more prominent leaks for a bit of provenance.
Yeah, so the thing that's been floating around, I think, mostly centers around a post which started in December last year, which was the Hoover 69 wrote a theory or speculation on how they think Six's story was going to start. Over time, this has been updated and reversioned and things. And then on the 19th of May, they posted they were like, here's my final version.
Mm.
Now, as a GTA Net said on Twitter or X, I'm going to quote them. They said, seeing a supposed GTA 6 leak on a massive Google Doc circulating, nothing better than getting it straight from the source where a big chunk of it has been copied from. Check out our own @GTA forums, a very detailed concept by the Hoover 69. Now, you should also follow us on Twitter @GTAVI O'clock, because we actually responded and said that the key word here is a concept. It's not a leak, it's a theory. That GTA forums post is super detailed and does contain some elements we'd expect to find in the game, but there's no evidence to suggest that it's come from any other source. And, crucially, neither of these accounts, like GTA Net or the GTA forums post, is claiming that that's what it is. It's merely a very well detailed and quite good fan theory or speculation about how the game will start. As we said on Twitter, some of these elements that they talk about, would go as far to say pretty confident that they are going to make it into the game. Some of the mechanics and the themes and that kind of thing, which, as we've been doing, or people are like this, you could extrapolate, there you go, fans of that word, from the leaks, and then write your own theories around how all those things might join together and put some meat on the horse to create a document like this. So I think that's what's happened. But then I think what happened is someone took that document, sort of turned it into like a PDF, made it look a little bit more official and went, here it is, the storyline leaks. Whereas actually, it's not that. So if you see some things flying around, we're not going to say those things won't end up being in the game, and someone might have hit the nail on the head and hit some key story points, but there is in no world, I don't think, as Dan said, that they're ever going to be like confirmed as definite leaks.
No, it's incredulous. And if you want to read a really smart piece of fan fiction, go and seek this out. And like you say, it's possible that some of it turns out to be true because, you throw enough darts, some of them are going to hit the board, right? And it's all very plausibly done, but how it could be confirmed, it can't. So, we're just strapping in for a wild ride. Like you said at the start, we're like 490 days away from release.
Yes.
There's a lot more of this to come. X particularly is swimming. There's new screenshots every day. And by new screenshots, I mean, AI pictures of largely naked women or semi-clothed women on Miami Beach. And like there'll be one in amongst them of like Lucia from behind, or a character who looks like Lucia, to give it the air of truthiness. It's just wild out there, and there's nothing that is making me excited that something is genuinely leaked. I guess an adjunct to this is another fun word. An adjunct to all of this is that actually, and some people had said this, Red Dead Redemption 2 did leak from a story perspective in quite a plausible way, and that was about 18 months out from the game. There were actually a number of damaging and massive leaks from Red Dead. The biggest one was actually more of a mechanical one that went out on a major brand website that almost ended that website's existence. Well, I think it did actually. So that was bad, but the story leak predated that, and actually looking back was quite spoilery. That doesn't mean I think this is true. We just have to take each of these leaks on its own merits and not jump at it and go, this is true, this is this. if you really want to stay, you really want to stay clear, don't read anything. But, that's no fun, is it? So keep listening to us and we'll filter out the best from the worst.
Yes, so keep it here for all your legitimate GTA 6 news like dog ownership, the city of Atlantis, and the Bermuda Triangle. So as we're on the topic of leaks and theories, I wanted to touch on something that has been sitting there for a few years, and I've been thinking about these 2022 videos, and there's something that keeps coming back to me, and we should probably put a spoiler warning here, because some of this, as we've just said, might end up being part of the game. Might not, of course, but we are going to talk about some things that were in one of those videos from 2022. So if you want to go in completely blind, I don't know, watch last week's episode again or something like that. Like and subscribe. So there was a clip in that big batch of 90 or so videos that actually contained some NPC dialogue, which commentated on the death of Jay Norris. You will remember Jay Norris as the CEO of Life Invader, who you kill in a GTA 5 mission as part of the story. And I'm not going to say what the actual lines are, but there's speculation around, he was the CEO of Light Invader. Is he really dead? Now, Jay Norris himself never appears in the game again, although he is posthumously mentioned 5 years after his death in the content update After Hours for GTA Online, which is where the Life Invader officers have had an increase in security due to the incident of his death. So it is being mentioned in the GTA canon of things that are going on, and they obviously are still keeping track of it. Now, what this confirms for me is a lot of what we already know, right? GTA 5 and GTA 6 are going to be connected in the same timeline and exist in parallel with each other. So the events from 5 are likely going to be referenced in 6, or at least could have a bearing on things that are happening in 6. It also says to me that conspiracy theories and misinformation, and that word again, trust, could play a bigger part in the story than we've maybe even us have previously mentioned. I think the trust here and getting through this together, the lines in the trailer, as you've said many times, Dan, probably isn't just about the relationship between Jason and Lucia. It's about trust in the media, the government, news, all of that kind of stuff. So it's more than just hey, you should trust me. It's together we should, make our own source of truth and go out together trusting each other. Now, there obviously are problems with people going off and making their own sources of truth, because that's how rumors and speculations happen.
Yes.
But to tie all this together, do you know what, Dan? This year, in fact, 2024, Florida was ranked the number 1 state in believing in conspiracy theories in the entire US. So what a perfect setting for a story based around trust and conspiracy theories than, now we know where the game is going to be set, Florida. And in fact, we, as we said at the very beginning of this show, originally we thought maybe it's just Miami, but now there is an increasing thought pattern that it's going to be most of Florida, or at least different bits of Florida. So it isn't just going to be locked into Miami. There's loads of popular conspiracy theories in Florida, one of which is the idea of the New World Order, which Wikipedia defines as secretly emerging totalitarian world government. The common theme about the New World Order is that a secretive power elite with a globalist agenda is conspiring to eventually achieve world domination and rule the world, which will replace sovereign nation states. That is a theme that is sort of crossed into GTA, especially, with Leicester and things in 5 before. So it's something that they could build on and continue on with 6. And it would sort of give you that link between, well, we saw a bit of this in 5 when it was, a few years ago, but now we're in what we believe is going to be the 2020s or something like that. Now it's become, really prevalent and people really believe in this kind of stuff.
I just wanted to add a bit of credence to when we were talking about the actually real leak of 2022 and talking about the NPC's reference to the Life Invader. Now, they did actually just recently close down the IRL Life Invader website, which I think was, feels maybe significant. And I'd forgotten myself that website was actually an up and running thing you could log into with your Rockstar social account. So it does suggest that, that is being put to sleep for a wee while they reconfigure how it might come back. But yeah, I could, it's sort of terrifying how all of this could play out in game in the same way it's already terrifying enough in real life. Rockstar have got license to go there.
And there are, plenty of other conspiracy theories. Chemtrails are popular in Florida. These days, believers say they are evidence of the government spraying us with vaccines or trying to reverse climate issues. And there is one interesting thing that might make it into the game. Have you ever heard of the elevator game, Dan?
No.
Wow, that was quite...
I feel like I'm about to.
You are about to.
And is it real?
Well, it's an urban myth-fueled game. We could play this in the office.
Yeah.
Maybe. Where the person who is alone in the elevator can supposedly enter another dimension. You begin by visiting floors in a certain sequence, and voila, you are transported somewhere else. There are super easy instructions on how to do this, which you can go and try out for yourself. It basically involves pressing a sequence of buttons in the elevator, and then, things happen. At one point, this is hilarious. At one point during the game, there's it says the doors might open and there might be a woman there. And if there is, ignore her. And she might get in the elevator, but if she does, don't talk to her. But she also might not be there. It's so vague. It's you get to the 5th floor, a woman might appear. She also might not. Don't worry, continue on with the game. The big theory around this is, do you remember Lisa Lam, who they made that documentary about when she was found in the water tower of the Cecil Hotel in California after some weird stuff was happening? I think the actual results of that was she took a load of drugs and then ended up in the water tower above the hotel. But the crazy theory is that she was playing this game, and because you can see her in the elevator talking to people who aren't there.
Right.
There's video footage of her behaving strangely, and then she vanished, and later her body was found in the water tower of the hotel. There is a Netflix documentary about that very thing, which weirdly doesn't mention the elevator game. So, maybe we're onto something here.
Yeah, and I don't want... Folks, don't get involved in the elevator game. That's like me saying definitely Google it and go and do it. It would be a fun thing to include in this. I mean, look, guys, come on. I watched the Percy Jackson Disney series where they could get an elevator up to see Zeus, where you ended up essentially in the clouds. That I can buy because it's pretend. The real life elevator game, make up your own minds.
I think what the interesting thing is here is clearly Florida is massive for conspiracy theories, and all the, it being ranked number one for people who are living there believing in conspiracy theories gives Rockstar so much ammunition to go out and make little side quests or make just things that are happening in the world, make, radio stations or public talk radio things where it's just about that stuff, which we've had in previous games. I think this, it's just, for me, makes it that kind of storyline or that kind of theme is going to be pretty big in 6. So then let's move on to the GTA 6 theme song that we mentioned at the top as one of the topics we'll be talking about this week. And I know what you're thinking, Dan, but we know what the theme song is. It's Tom Petty's Love is a Long Road, correct?
Well, that's what we've heard so far.
Well, yes, exactly. So maybe. And this all comes from last week. I watched The Fall Guy, which you can watch in the UK on Amazon Prime. I'm sure you can watch it elsewhere. I think it's in the cinema still as well. Ryan Gosling, he's playing a stuntman. Emily Blunt is a director. It's actually pretty good. It's a fun Friday, Saturday night film that you can watch. It's a couple of hours long. Its origins, though, are in a TV show which ran from 1981 to 1986, starred Lee Majors and Heather Thomas. And what I think this is actually the blueprint for how something from the 80s could be reimagined for a modern audience while still keeping the spirit of the original. Do you see where I'm going here, Dan?
I can see the pattern.
So we're thinking about how we're taking Vice City up into what is a modern day Vice City. Now, I'm only talking about the music here, but the TV show had a theme song, and the intro actually has a man in a jetpack, Dan. Just saying, for another Easter egg reference.
I will add, I watched this show, so obviously I can
you'll
remember
know
everything.
Then. You'll be
so
very familiar.
I'm very. Don't make me sing it. No one wants that.
Now, you do hear one song in this new 2024 movie a lot, which is "I Was Made for Loving You," originally by Kiss, came out in 1979. But what they've done, obviously, for this film is not use the original and used an updated version. The version you hear in the movie is a Youngblood. Youngblood has done a cover of it. There's actually an orchestral version of the same cover, which uses, the same lyrics and the same melodies and stuff, but in a different style. And what happens throughout the film, if you watch it, is you notice you hear the key bit of that song quite a lot in in different versions. Also, you should watch the film because it's full of 80s tunes, and they're actually all set to like really quite epic set pieces, which I can see GTA 6 doing quite a lot, and theming the music that is playing in the background to actual missions that you're doing. So what we're looking at is a 1980s TV show updated for 2024, exactly what GTA 6 is doing. My question is, could Rockstar and GTA 6 do this kind of thing with Tom Petty's song, Love Is a Long Road, by taking what is quite an iconic now intro, the piano keys at the beginning of that song is pretty familiar, putting that into different arrangements and different versions that you hear all the way through the game to basically ground the game into like one song or one piece of melody, I think would be something that we haven't really seen happen before, and something that could be like every time you hear that little melody, you're like, oh yeah, that's GTA 6. Now, obviously, they've done it with the mission past stings and all of that kind of stuff, but this, I think, takes it to another level. And as we know, GTA 5 in the past uses stems to dynamically adapt to what you're doing. There's a tweet from Lucas7 who says, it's interesting that it typically adapts to what you do in the game. This is archived by splitting up songs into stems, allowing the game to adjust and use which ones are needed. The result is a dynamic music, which also means that one song is 115 megabytes, which would show, how big the game is going to be. But what I think is interesting is doing that kind of technique of breaking down a song into very specific points and using them to play at a certain point and be like, oh, remember, this is the song from the game. Whether they'll do that or not, I don't know. I'm interested in your thoughts, Dan.
Yeah, it's an interesting conceit. I guess that the franchise that's got the most form for doing this, I mean, well, there's many. Obviously Star Wars. Probably more importantly, you would say James Bond, which has got one of the most iconic theme tunes of any movie franchise ever. And in fact, to the point where it's almost beyond cliche. So what a lot of Bond films have done, and in fact the Mission Impossible films do this as well, is they seed the soundtrack. Indiana Jones does it. Loads of films do it, right? They fake out the reveal. So there's always a remix, or you get the bars like on the undercard of a different song, and it saves the full toot of the anthem for the greatest moment in the film. So when it plays, you're like, yes, Indiana Jones, you can. Da, 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 da. Or it's the full Bond theme is unleashed. And they've brought in artists. Bond especially has done this. They've had different people, not just to do the Bond song, but to actually remix the core underlay of the soundtrack. And there's even artists like, at the time it was quite daring, they had Moby do the Bond theme, and it was like quite a techno-ish, classic Moby, right? Surging, techno, vaguely classical. It felt like quite a departure, and actually I think it's probably dated horrifically, but you can see the attraction of Rockstar taking a core theme and getting guest artists in to remix it and replay it throughout. I think that'd be really cool. There's always been a dichotomy, I guess. It's part of the charm of GTA, is that when you're playing out the most serious or intense mission, but let's say you're doing that, whilst your chosen radio station is something like, All my exes live in Texas.
Yes.
It creates an incongruity that's quite amusing. Now, also, it can undercut the tension and feel slightly ridiculous. So I think, and this is what they did in 5, is to make the big moments feel big. So they weren't played out, alongside the Birdie song or whatever it is. They had very deliberate stem dynamic music. Like, do I think they do that with Tom Petty? Like, I don't know. Like, it's more like that track belongs to someone else. I'm thinking of songs that mean something to GTA. All of this got me thinking, really, like, what's the iconic? Is there a GTA theme in the same way there's a Bond theme? And there sort of isn't. But then I started listening to is it the boom, ding, boom, boom, the menu music, and that stuff really. The minute I hear it, I'm playing that game again.
Yeah,
and
but maybe you're only playing that one version of. You're not playing GTA 3, are you?
No, I'm playing the theme of that game. There isn't like an enduring GTA theme. I wonder if that's something that Rockstar would want to create. Maybe not, because they want each game release to be a sort of era-spanning thing, and they want it to have its own unique feel. So I don't know. And like as you say, there's no, none of this is us saying this will definitely happening. It's just a fun thing to entertain that they could look to, I guess, make the music more dynamic, tease it, drop it. I think that's a really nice way to do things.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's not Tom Petty and it's something else, I don't know why it hasn't already happened. You can imagine like knowing what the GTA theme is, and then you don't even really need to release a trailer. When they're teasing GTA 7, they could just have a Rockstar logo with those 4 bars that just go like whatever the theme ends up being, and you're like, oh, well, that's GTA 7 coming out then, isn't it? I'm surprised, actually, now we've talked about it, that hasn't happened, that there isn't like some kind of sound that is definitely the GTA sound.
And like we've even played upon it with this very show, because myself included, and I'm sure a lot of listeners feel the same, the minute I hear the
show intro,
you're like, that's GTA 5 o'clock. Not GTA 5, no. That's GTA 5 o'clock.
Exactly.
So the appropriation of a few bars can have a really powerful effect. I do wonder if it's something Rockstar have considered to like transcend is the theme. I don't know. We are, again, the canoes are unmoored from the shore right now, and we're entering the island of speculation. But I think it's quite a fun thing to talk about.
Yeah, and have a look around the internet. There are plenty of covers of Tom Petty's song out there. There's traditional versions, there's orchestral versions, there's even a medieval version, which is actually quite fun. We'll try and put some of these links in the comments so you can go and check them up. As I say, it's got a very recognizable hook. I could see it popping up from time to time in the way that, much like in the way that it happens in The Fall Guy. If you've watched that show, let us know in the comments. We'll maybe read out some reviews next week and Dan can give it an edge 7 out of 10. One quick thing then, just before we go, Dan, and we've had quite a lot of actual community questions come in to us via email, which is at GTAVI O'clock@gmail.com. Please drop us your messages over there. This has come in from Dean Kelly via email. It says, "Hi, Dan and James. Absolutely loving the show and delighted that it feels like it did back in the day with 5 o'clock. Here are my questions. You don't need to answer them all." We've actually picked out just one question here because I think we're going to run out of time, but we will get to some of them, Dean. Thank you for sending them all in. And Dan, it's a question that we've sort of skirted around before and discussed in a way, but let me ask it to you outright. Do you see fuel and electricity being integrated as mechanics for vehicles this time around, or do you think it never will?
I feel like this is back to the food course question. What people want versus what I think is a good idea might be two different things. I personally don't want to have to charge my EV for 24 virtual hours to get it moving or put petrol in. I feel like that would be deeply annoying. I think it's an entertaining conceit for a one-off mission. I could imagine, having to steal, let's say you were doing a bank job and you had to steal like a tanker or a big truck, and as you get in, your co-pilot goes, "Oh my God, we're almost out of fuel." And then you had to this would actually be super fun. You had to freewheel it into the safe zone or something, or drive in a certain way that was almost like minimizing your fuel use. And then if you were being pursued by people, there'd be an extra tension of, well, I can't accelerate because we're going to be done for. That would be a brilliant mission, Rockstar. You can have that one for free. I think that would have genuine tension. Like, so as a set piece, yes. As a consistent thing, I mean, for me, it would be annoying. But I think people want it. People want realism. I mean, for me, this feels like real life. I get annoyed in real life having to fill my car up and it costs a fortune, let alone in the virtual realm. But I guess people do. Like, I don't know how you feel, James.
Well, the great thing is there's going to be balance to this argument, because I now can actually see it being very much a thing in the game. Electricity, I'm assuming they're talking about, electric cars and having to power them up. Fuel consumption, I think it's just becoming more and more commonplace in games, and it's actually not that annoying. I'm going to reference Fortnite again, as it's one of the only games I play consistently. Have recently added in vehicles and fuel to the game, where you drive around quite a big map. You don't have to fill them up. Like, you can drive around for quite a long time before you have to fill it up. But at some point, it does run out of fuel, and if you're burning the nitro a lot, it runs out of fuel quicker. And it's like not actually that annoying. Like, you can see it when someone explains it to you, like, oh, I'm playing this battle royale game where my car runs out of fuel and I have to drive it to the petrol station and fill it up. But actually, it sort of adds an element of like, okay, I've got to make sure I've got enough fuel. All of the petrol stations are marked on the map. I get to go over there and stop on my way somewhere else. It didn't take away from the experience of the game as much as if someone had told me they're going to add vehicles and you're going to have to fill them up with fuel every 5 minutes, that you'd go, well, that sounds rubbish. But it doesn't feel that rubbish. So can I see it being a thing in 6? I think... yes, it's a thing that people have asked about for ages in GTA as a series. And you can just see it getting to this stage where Rockstar just go, well, you know what? We're going to put it in. And then you're going to have to deal with it. But I don't think it's going to be a thing where... I think you could do a number of missions before fuel starts running out. I don't think it's going to be a realistic fuel consumption where, you drive whatever it is in your electric vehicle 40 miles and then it runs out of electricity, because that would be annoying. But I think it might get to the stage where it's integrated, like you say, into the story, where someone goes, hey, can you drive this over here for me? Oh, but you're going to have to stop for gas on the way because, last night I was driving around and burnt all the fuel off. But also I can see it being in a way where you do 5 or 6 side missions and then you have to take it to the petrol station, get it filled up. It adds a lot of fun, and there's a lot of dynamic things that can happen in those petrol stations.
The fun of filling a car.
You drive to a petrol station, Dan, and there is an alligator there, and you're like, uh-oh.
All right.
The alligator's robbing the petrol station. How am I going to get out of this one? I think that they could make those experiences of going to gas stations fun and dynamic in a way that maybe other games can't.
Maybe. I mean, I don't want to pull into the gas station as an alligator in a top hat is buying a protein bar to fill up his energy core so he can have enough energy to maul an NPC who's got an AI brain chain. For me, this is, I feel like it's gone way off course. But if they wanted to make a mission where you drive from the north to the south of the map with limited fuel in a tanker, I think that would be excellent.
Okay. Well, I feel like we've maybe gone off the rails a little bit. So let's end this episode of the show here. Please let us know your comments about fuel consumption, cores, alligators, all of those things in the comments below. Please send us emails at gtavio'clock@gmail.com. Get in touch on Twitter at GTAVI O'clock. Leave your comments below. Please subscribe. And we will be back next week on Wednesday at 6 o'clock for another episode of GTA 6 o'clock.